All right. All right. Greetings and welcome back once again. Let me know if I can be heard loud and clear. Clear. Hold on. Trying to get the headpiece in. Loud and clear. Welcome to the conversation. My name is Amuna. For those who have just joined us, if you're new to the channel, you don't know already, welcome. And if you are coming back, you already know. Come on in, hit the like button. We're gonna jump into this here conversation. Ah boy, how y'all doing today? How y'all doing? How you doing? How are you doing today? I haven't been on in a while because of yeah, I got caught up last week. But I'm back. I'm back. And there I was, kind of minding my business, and then I seen some pop up on my timeline on the YouTube, right? Ever since the community post, YouTube, you know. And I'm like, a thought in me says, should I say something? But sometimes when I see stuff so out of pocket, I'm like, you know what? Let me not just pass and not say anything. Let me say something. So that's what we're gonna go over today. I did talk about the Roe versus Wade. I took it from a different perspective. I talked about, and if you missed that video, go ahead and check it out. We had an excellent discussion. It was taking a look at the fact that this already exists, especially for melanated people here in the West. It's not a new thing for people to pass laws to regulate our bodies, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about today is the way in which some YouTubers, sadly, are using certain topics to gaslight the people for monetary gain. You know what I mean? I mean, long story short, if nothing but channels with modern this or entitled women that, or just gaslighting the hurt and the trauma of the people so that they can monetize it. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But make no mistake about it, it is being done on a daily. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, all right, I'm gonna just say one and two things. It kind of turned left, but I left it on a good note. And I wanted to go over it today just for us to chime in on what it is that's happening here in this YouTube space. It's interesting that Judah opened up finally something good on YouTube. It's positive sense she's seen it too. There's a lot of good things on YouTube. There's definitely different neighborhoods on YouTube. YouTube, like I've said so many times, I came on here in 2009. So many things have changed. A lot of the hardcore good YouTubers have left. This was before when people were sharing not for monetary gain, because at that time YouTube wasn't monetized. And so people had a very authentic back then way of sharing. But now, because so many things have changed and it's now monetary incentive to create content, people are just finding their niche no matter how negative it may be and just keep sticking in it, right? I think personally, however you get your money, people don't understand, or maybe they do, that money is just an exchange of energy. So whatever we are getting, however we're getting our money, whatever energy we're putting out to exchange for this monetary value or the attention of the people, we're going to have to pay for that. I don't know why we think that money is the be all end all. All these videos all over social media, I made this amount. How did you make it? How did you make it? Because how you made it is very important. And I know a lot of people on here don't believe in karma or energetic return, but that's a universal law. You can't negate it. It's coming back. So I personally don't see the wisdom in it, but maybe I'm too old for my youth. I don't see the wisdom in moving how some people are moving. But nonetheless, that's just me personally. Let's get into this. Some of this stuff don't make any sense, but let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Let me clear my throat. Sometimes I just pass on by. And then other times, I guess this is the week, because last week I stopped by the other guy's channel and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Stop the madness, man. And the sad part is that the people are behaving like lemons, just willing to walk off the side of the cliff because we're being emotionally titillated, because somebody's riling us up and get healing. Heal that part of us that person is speaking to. If every day somebody gets on their platform and spews hate and you tune in, heal that part so that you, because you're easily controlled. Whoever can tap into your emotions in that way is able to control you, They are the Spengali. They are the puppet masters over here. They are Geppetto and you are Pinocchio. If every time you come in, they can make you feel this and make you feel that. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. And the script that came to my mind, um, and judgment is turned away backwards. This is Isaiah 59:14. And justice stand afar off. This is the time we're in. When you're looking at judgment, the judgment has gone out the window. Only God could judge me. Nobody could say anything to me. And it says, so therefore there's nothing new under the sun. That's always my contention, just like um the pastor said, or the in Ecclesiastes, aka Solomon. And but here Isaiah is saying judgment is turned away backwards, like crisscross, jump, jump, and justice stand afar off. For truth is falling in the street, and equity cannot enter. That's what it feels like looking out into the landscape and listening to what the people are saying. It feels like you're in upside down world, like this is the twilight, like doo 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 doo. You're like, what? And the people are like, yeah, yeah. The masses are. I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah. Everybody's doing what's right in their own eyes, and you're really gonna have to pay in the end. Um, but let's continue. Yep, the wisdom of the world is foolishness. I agree. Positive reinforcement. Just because somebody's saying it passionate, that's what we think. Oh, we're saying it passionately. Oh man, let me plug this in. We're saying it loud. Our fists are pumping in the air. That must mean it's correct. That must mean it's right and exact. I got 1,000 subscribers, or I got 10,000 subscribers, or 100,000 subscribers. That must mean it's correct. That's the world we living in right now, where numbers equal correctness. Numbers does not equal correctness, but without further ado, mm-mm-mm-mm. Just share the screen. It's wow. So I uh I came across, and I didn't even finish the last time that the sister was over there talking some stuff, because some of this stuff you're like, I'm not saying nothing, and then you're like, well, if no one says anything, then how is that also gonna work? Let me release this right here. So you have to kind of be strategic, I suppose. Okay, so here I was minding my business, passing by the YouTube, and then I see this. And although I'm not a Christian, I felt compelled to join the conversation because of the mischaracterization of the text to prove a point, right? The point that the person already is making, which is they think that women should abort male children, which is off the chain to me. This is the point now that's being made in certain sectors of YouTube, okay? And so I'm going to read it real quick. And this is what compelled me to say something. Now, I know a lot of Christians will hate me for this. That opening statement is already, you already know I'm about to stir in the ants nest, right? That statement, that opening statement right there is like, I'm about to start some mess. You feel me? But, so that means I'm about to start some mess, but I'm about to do it anyway. It's looking like your religion not only supports selective breeding, because remember, somebody is stating a premise that they think that you should do this thing, and then they're going to come into the space to gaslight Christians who are in disagreement, perchance, with your thought process by saying your Bible also supports what I'm saying, right? So it looks like your religion not only supports selective breeding, but it also supports all types of abortion, including gender specific abortion. There's literally a verse that says to terminate the boys and keep the girls. This is divinely ordered, all clappy, clappy things, right? So I'm like, wait, hold on, fam, hold on, wait a minute now. What are we, what? So I saw the first scriptures that is being put up here. The thing I find interesting is that the same people who are on YouTube would not like if somebody took a part of their video. What's going on, Nasha? Took a part of their video and misquoted them, right? This is one of the beefs that has been for the longest time on YouTube. People taking clips. This is like taking a clip out of context. This is why oftentimes, even though people think I belabor the point. I kind of like to get the holistic view of it, even if I don't agree with the person, because I think framing it in a certain way is disingenuous, right? So this conversation was definitely framed in a certain way, which is disingenuous. Which, if someone did this with your position, you would say, "That's not what I said. That's not what I said," right? But we can do it because the writers of the Bible are not here to defend themselves, right? This is more than stretching, Judah. This is Pilates right here. This is Pilates, a whole Pilates session. Okay, this is a whole Pilates session right here. So let's go back and read it again, and then look at some of the scriptures that. So even if you're going to genuinely engage in this discussion, right, we should at least be honest about what it's saying. To post a number of texts, so without giving context, without being honest about anything. First of all, abortion, because I'm going to go down to what I said. But before I do that, abortion, I realized that she went live because she was going to give some basics of the Bible, right? And then she went to define the Bible. So let's define abortion. She went to define what stance she was taking. Let's define abortion only for a second, because it's going to be important to how I respond and how others are responding to this conversation. And this is what's happening in the world of social media right now. Abortion is the termination of a pregnancy. That means the mother is still with child, right? By removal or expulsion of an embryo or fetus. Removal or expulsion. An abortion that occurs. Wait. So this is having to do with a pregnant mother, not a mother after she has given birth, but a pregnant mother. Okay. So therefore, if we just look on face value, Numbers 31 and 17, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by laying with him. One would have to look at it and be like, mm, the child would have already been born. Every little one is not a mother who's pregnant with child. That's on its face, on its surface, right? Without even going into who is speaking, why they're speaking. I'm looking at what she said and what she gave to support what she said. Psalms goes into who smote the firstborn of Egypt, both of man and beast. Again, there's no context for this. There's no quote unquote breakdown for this. But firstborn would actually mean the woman wasn't pregnant. Uh, she already had the child. So that would just be murder, right? And not abortion, which some people are equating murder to abortion. And I guess that's the conversation that needs to be clarified. But this, what is being given here is not bringing clarity. It's bringing more confusion. The same this is Acts. The same dealt subtly with our kindred in evil, and treated our fathers so that they cast out their young children to the end they might not live. Again, and Psalms 136, to him that smote Egypt in their firstborn, for the mercy endure forever. So again, these are a lot of scripts that are talking about women who are gave forth or birthed children, and not necessarily those who were with child. The only one that was put here that has to do with somebody who was with child is Hosea, which says, Samaria shall become desolate, for she hath rebelled against. Let me move over here. Again, this is how people on any side of the aisle. I'm talking about whether you in religion, whatever Christianity sect, whatever Hebrew sect, whatever. Anybody who does this, my track record shows that I get annoyed. It doesn't really matter who does it. Some people be like, "Oh, no, it doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter who does it." For she hath rebelled. Hold on. This is Hosea. So she has rebelled against God. They shall fall by the sword. Their infants shall be dashed to pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped up. That is the only reference to somebody who is with child. And that would not be abortion. That would be murdering the woman and the child. Am I condoning any of this? No. What I'm saying is the conversation, if we are going to have conversations about anything, if we're to trust one another in discussion, then we have to kind of be honest about the way we engage in information. No, otherwise else we're no better than anybody else who we're trying to condemn. All right. So let's scroll up here to some of the people who found took issue or who agreed. As you can see, there's like 720 people who are liking it. This is what I'm saying about the masses. I don't know where the minds of the people are. It's a very interesting time we're in. So someone named Empress Tina 876 said none of those Bible verses have anything to do with abortion. Okay, because we just read the definition outside of Hosea, where the mother and the child is being violated. None of the other ones that are put up there have to do with abortion. You may want to read those specific stories in full and not just show a verse referring to killing children, which would be infanticide, by the way. Shows/read in its entirety, and it will be clear there is no point made here. 64 people is like, yo, Empress, you know what I mean? I agree. What the rock side? What are we talking about here? Right? I find interesting the engagement. So we're going to look at some logical fallacies in this conversation, because when we disagree as people, we know about logical fallacies. We went over it here, but if we didn't, let me go over it really quickly before we get into this, because this is where sometimes our conversations don't go anywhere, and it just becomes a circular reasoning because people are not being honest. They don't want to admit that, yo, I misspoke, or that's not what I was talking about, or so we play these little mind games. We play these little mind games to play to evade responsibility for the things we said. Hold on, before we go into some of the mind games that are about to be played in 2.5 seconds, let's take a look at. Hold on, let me stop sharing this screen. Let's take a look at some logical fallacies. List of fallacies. Okay. A fallacy is reasoning that is logically invalid or that undermines the logical validity of an argument. All forms of human communication can contain fallacies. Okay. So a lot of the time when we see that all this arguing, this bickering, this back and forth, and what's happening, especially on YouTube podcasts, whoever is holding the mic is seemingly right because there isn't a neutral party who's going to mediate a debate. What happens is you go into one person's platform, and if that person is not just in allowing other people to speak and share their position, or they may see that they're losing, then they try to deflect. They do the Venus and Serena. They in there deflecting. So or committing one of these very real blatant fallacies, logical fallacies, to sway their audience, because the reality is if truth enters the room, right, and it doesn't pick a side. What happens is because people's livelihoods, how they pay their bills, how they eat, how they put gas in their car, are tied to these agendas, they can't afford for this conversation to continue. So we have to be, mindful of how we enter into some of these discussions, right? uh, because of their variety, fallacies are challenging because people, when one mode is not working, whoop, they switch to the other one. So this is why it's challenging to classify. They can be classified by their structure, formal fallacies, or content, informal fallacies. Informal fallacies, the larger group, may then be subdivided into categories such as improper presumption, faulty generalization, and error in assigning causation and relevance, among others. So this in itself is something that needs, if we're interested in having these type of debates or discussions where the situation, people are emotionally invested and there's so much writing on it, it's in any relationship, it's important to see when somebody's switching gears or switching their mode of manipulation or using another tactic to employ so that they can shift the discussion to their direction. I'm just going to do the overview so we could get back to this thing. Okay. Appeal to probability. Oh, it's likely that, chances are, making up statistics, right? Argument from fallacy, also known as fallacy. I'm just going to be shouting out fallacy all around, right? The assumption that if a particular argument for a conclusion is fallacious, then the conclusion by itself is fallacious. Base rate fallacy, conjunction fallacy, non sequitur fallacy, where the conclusion does not logically follow the premise. I mean, this is the stuff that you go, it makes you go, hmm? What did you just say? You know what I mean? Masked man fallacy. Um, the substitution of identical designators in a true statement can lead to a false one. Propositional fallacies, right? Affirming a disjunct, affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent. We may go into this at another time. Existential fallacies, affirmative conclusion from a negative premise, fallacy of exclusive premise, fallacy of four terms, and it goes on and on and on. Double counting, divine fallacies, all kind of fallacies, fallacies for everyone. You get a fallacy, you get a fallacy, you get a fallacy. False dilemma, false equivalency. We're going to have to come back here another day. As you can see, this is what we are in. We are in a fallacious environment, okay, where people do, where the truth is has fallen in the street, okay. Red herring fallacies, ad hominems, appeal to emotions, which is what a lot of people here in this social media space do. Appeal to flattery and pity and fit. As you can see, there's a lot, but for the sake of time, for the sake of time, that's a whole nother discussion. Let's jump back over to here and let's see if we can identify what's going on in this conversation. Shall we? Shall we? Shall we proceed? Yes, indeed. All right. And this is not to pick on any one person, but I see this person going really hard. I'm trying to figure out what's the incentive, right? What's the incentive beyond monetary? What is the incentive? So this is what Empress Tina said. I already read it, and she was like, "I don't see the point." So the host comes back. If you say so, LOL. It may not say abortion, but see, pause. So you made a point up here, and the premise of the whole conversation is that it also supports all types of abortion. That was the premise. That was the premise, was it not? Now, I know a lot of Christians will hate me for this, but it's looking like your religion not only supports selective breeding, but it also supports all type of abortion. We just read that abortion is, let me read it again. Let me read it again. This is how we play games out here in these streets. This is how we play games out here in these streets. Abortion is the expulsion of a fetus from the uterus before it has reached the stage of viability. Pause. So if you come back and your whole premise for this post and all of these scripts is that the Bible supports abortion, then the fact that you had to come and said when pointed out that you made no point, it may not include abortion, then the whole conversation is done. But it's not. But wait, because there's more. You cannot say that you base this whole post on the fact that the Bible supports abortion. And in the very first time that somebody pushes back, you have to concede that it doesn't say abortion. What the box side? What in all? Now we would have to go through all of these fallacies to name what exactly just happened here. Maybe that's an assignment for another day. We're gonna have to go through the fallacies to name what just happened here because you just conceded out the box that not that it may not say, it doesn't say. Therefore, you have a mute point. It doesn't say that. Let's continue. But it definitely says, so we're doing the switcheroo. We moving the goalposts at this point. It doesn't say this, even though I just said it said that, and I wanted to gaslight you. But I'm gonna continue to gaslight you. Even though I say may not, it's not may. It doesn't say. But conjunction, it definitely says to kill infants, which is worse than abortion. Ma'am, your whole premise. So then we just switched. I am tempted to go to this very long list of fallacies to look at what just happened here. But for the sake of time, I'm going to continue. We could get the point that right here, the conversation just switched. And we do this at home. We do this in relationships. We do this in community conversations. And this is where you have to restate now. It's like for the record, you in a debate, you have to clearly state what's your point. And if you just made your point mute out the gate, what are we arguing about? Okay. So somebody else tries to come and speak reason. Okay. 37 people thought that was a counter argument. I don't know how, when, okay. But we just checked, we moved the goalpost, right? Those particular scriptures were when the nation of Israel were under the Mosaic law, which entailed God's righteous judgment over the nation when they didn't repent of their wickedness after being warned constantly. Since Jesus became a perfect sacrifice to atone for man's sin, we're no longer under the law but grace. For those who accept Jesus into their hearts, there is an abundant grace. But Locks 4 does not also speak to what's going on up here. Even though Locks 4 is trying to give context, it's not speaking to the point or the what that was made in the beginning. I'll read it again, because sometimes when we're having discussions, we forgot what the original statement was, so we start arguing points that's not even made. Now, I'm gonna read it again. Now, I know a lot of Christians will hate me for this, but it looks like your religion, so it's an indictment against Christians and their religion, not only supports selective breeding, but also supports all types of abortion, including gender specific abortions. That is the premise. That's the premise. Okay. So early on, like I said, we see that abortion, the very word, the very premise, is overturned. So now it has to be shifted to infanticide, right? And then an appeal to not emotion. There's an appeal to it changes. It changes to what's the word I'm looking for here? I know which one I'm thinking about. It's a moral appeal because it's worse than, right? It's worse than this. So she's appealing to morality at a certain point. And I'll come see what's in the comment section before I continue. But we see that there's an appeal going on here, right? To say it's worse than because I was caught out there. So, but let's continue. Let's continue. Let's continue. So I came and I simply said, the Bible is not a person. It will help to provide context. Because up here it says, it's going into talking about that the religion, and then it's quoting Bible verses. So I'm like, the Bible is not a person. All kind of people are talking. So who's talking in these verses that you're saying supports abortion? And I went to give a little bit of context. The Egyptians were the one who ordered this to stop the nation dwelling among them from growing strong and taking over. That's when it's about the firstborn being killed in Egypt, because that's what she made reference to up here, right? Where a verse literally says that they should terminate the boys and keep the girls, right? There's one in Numbers when the nation of Israel is going into other people's land. And then we see that also in Egypt, when Pharaoh orders the killing of the firstborn, which would be infanticide and not abortion, because midwives would indicate that people are giving birth. But anywho, so I spoke to that. So she comes back. Men are the ones who ordered everything in the Bible. What, the box side? What are we talking about here? What? God said nothing. Huh? The Bible is literally men telling people what God told them. The Bible is a book of rumors at worst and fairy tales at best. What are we talking about? Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and you're like, what are we talking about? What? Say what? So at this point, it was a little late. So I didn't even really intend to go back and forth with anybody. I'm going to keep it gully, right? Because I was over here watching um, a movie on YouTube. But I was just like, what are we talking about? That's not the original statement. I said the Bible is not a person. So, because remember, the premise of the discussion that happens over there is black male worship and aborting children, babies that are males. So we already know that where the slant is coming, but I don't know how the response. I was lost on the response. So I had to reply, right? I said, you made a misleading statement about the Bible supporting all kinds of abortions. Wait, did I give you back the screen? Yeah, I did. Um, so I'm saying clearly, I'm not hiding my stick and lick a bush as what many people in the Caribbean like to say. I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say something. I am saying it. I said, you made a misleading statement about the Bible supporting all kinds of abortions, as the verse speaks to people already born, not pregnant women. That's my contention. So therefore, if you're going to gaslight your people, which I'm letting you know that I can see you gaslighting them, your statement is misleading. My point is that the Bible is a collection of different books with all manner of people speaking at any given time, good, bad, and indifferent. Proper context is needed if one is going to seriously engage / explore the point you are trying to make. I didn't attack the person. I'm speaking clearly that, hey, this is a misleading statement. Go ahead and provide some context and be honest about the why you're engaging in this topic. Let me know if I handled it in a respectful way. I wasn't really trying to comfort anybody, but I'm like, come on, fam. Why are we out here doing this though in this day and time? I'm trying to figure it out. Why are we doing this in 2022? You know, these Jews are about to fire up CERN. I don't know if you guys know about CERN. You probably do. On July the 5th. They're about to disrupt all kind of frequencies. And we are out here further destroying the minds and the hearts and the spirit of the people when we're supposed to be trying to heal the people or help to share information that can. I'm confused about what's going on in the world today. I really, really, really am. Anywho, somebody named Radiant Golden Sun comes and says, Amuna, the Bible does support abortion of the fetus of an unfaithful wife. Why did you leave that out? Did you see me quote any Bible scriptures, or did you see me respond to the Bible scriptures that she, and I didn't even wholly respond. I am only responding to what she put out there. So the burden of proof is not on me. I think we now understand how this debate thing works, or how the burden of proof is not on me. The burden of proof is on her. I could be wrong, but she's the one who came up with all of these scripts. So I'm saying to her, you're putting this out. Why don't you support it with accurate information? So this person is like, the Bible does support abortion of the fetus of an unfaithful wife. Okay. The other person comes and goes into the actual script of the law of jealousy, right? Okay, what about the recipe? So now somebody is getting closer. Now that we've established that what she brought up was not abortion, which she says, again, her co-counsels had to come and give her a alley-oop because what she brought up was not abortion. It says it supports all types of abortion, but she brought up infanticide. It seems like apples and oranges. Like, why are you nitpicking? It's all murder. But again, this is not a honest, open conversation. It's a conversation that's already skewed so that it can justify a doctrine that somebody's already espousing, right? So Bo Parks comes to give the alley oop, like, okay, what about the recipe for an abortion that God gave Moses when they gave to us in Numbers 5, verse 16? But if you have gone astray while married to your husband and you have made yourself impure by having sexual relations with a man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under the curse, right? And then there's a curse that causes the womb to miscarry and your abdomen to swell. It also says rot in another place. May this water that, and then it goes into the curse, causes miscarriage, right? So that is more along the lines of the point that she was trying to make, but that's not what she threw up there. That's not what she threw up there, right? So I'm not going to pretend like that wasn't valid what you're bringing up. So I respond, I spoke to the statement that was made in the post. Those that she posted cannot be used to support abortion. That's what I just said. The scripture you bring up is about the law of jealousy. And yes, that portion speaks to an ancient loyalty test that if the wife fails can result in her thigh rotting, swelling belly, and or miscarriage. The issue is in this script is about accusations of adultery. That being said, whether it speaks directly to abortion, one would have to revisit the text to confirm or deny. Do I look like I'm over here saying, oh, no, 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 it doesn't say? What we need to do is go now into that text and look if this is fitting what she was asserting. There definitely is something there that if this woman broke a commandment, which would be do not commit adultery, which is the seventh commandment. If she transgresses this commandment, that then this is what is the next course of action. So this would have been, if she would have brought out this one script, this would have been something that quote unquote Christians or quote unquote Bible believers would honestly have to engage with, but she didn't even bring this up. So that you can say, you know what, actually it is there. And this is the context of which it's there. You can't deny that it's there. It is there. This is what it looks like to have honest discussion and discourse. But that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. Sis comes back. Sis comes back. You understand? Sis comes back. Hold on, let me go back over there. That's not a misleading statement. It absolutely is a misleading statement because you just said earlier to to Empress Tina, if you say so, it may not say abortion. So how is me now saying exactly what Tina said, but not in so many words, that it is a misleading statement, and then you switch the argument that abortion is definitely say kill infants, which is infanticide, which is not what you said it is, according to the definition, and then you appeal to morality and say it's worse than abortion. So, but to take the low L to say, you know what, I did mislead, I misspoke. It well, that part is not about abortion. That part is about infanticide. And take the alley oop from Bro Parks and Radiant Golden Sun. Take that alley oop because that would have been a better course of action. Wouldn't it have been a better course of action to go with the script that Golden Sun, Radiant Golden Sun brought up? Because now you would have to engage based on this is something that you're going to take that is going to be abortive in nature. Like we spoke about cotton root in the last discussion with Roe versus Wade. That is an abortive um, herb or plant substance that will spontaneously cause miscarriages. There are many of things in nature that if a woman is pregnant, they tell you, do not drink this thing because it is abortive in nature. It's not what they have synthesized in the lab in regards to plan B, but it is abortive in nature. And if you take it with an early fetus, it will cause an abortion. Tosim, I learned this over in Ethiopia. They drink thyme leaves. Hold on one second. Let me roll this thing real quick. Hold on. Let me. I don't mean to cut it, but I think my son needs something. So hold on a second. My apologies. My apologies. Let me know if I could be heard. Sometimes when we're engaging, it's not necessarily to come at the person when I do it, right? Because I don't got time like that, right? Not anymore. I used to, but geez Louise, it is more it is more for those who are coming behind to kind of have a different point of view. That's something to consider because how cults are formed and how we begin to exist in this vacuum is by only allowing one voice to exist, right? Only allowing. So even you'll see John, I don't even see him in here. Why I'm gonna keep letting because you need other voices. I don't have to wholly agree with you to respect you. I illustrate that as on this channel. If you're gonna come up to the mic, be respectful. That's all I ask. I don't have to wholly be on your bandwagon because that's how information is being able to sort out. We don't need to chew the food for others and give it to them if they hear a positive. And back in the day it has changed, but back in early in YouTube, we even saw Netta and different, he used to have these conversations where people can engage in debate. But everything has deteriorated now where people can engage in debate and then you can suss it out for yourself, right? But if you don't have the patience and the willingness to let other people have conversations that you may not agree with, then what happens is that we get to where we are right now, right? I'm gonna just read this through and then I'm gonna come to the comment section. So, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so instead of taking the alley oop from your Radiant Golden Sun and Bow Parks, again, which would have supported your premise, you're gonna deny that the statement wasn't misleading when you already conceded that that's not what those are saying. If y'all see abortion as murder, again, now you're presuming the other side's position. I don't know where you're getting this information from. I don't know. But if y'all see abortion as murder of a child and the Bible, see, so now I have to go to see which of these false fallacies that she's employing. I definitely know, like they said, it's so expansive that to see which one you're using to actually put a name on it is going to take some work. But as we can see here, the assuming of what the person sees as what, if y'all see abortion as murder of a child and the Bible has multiple verses in it instructing people to kill children, again, that's infanticide. The woman is not pregnant, then clearly it supports abortion. So this is this faulty reasoning. I'm going to assume what y'all see, Then I'm going to rationalize it for you. And then I'm going to have my conclusion because I already stated something that I want to be true. It just is what it is. And that statement doesn't make it true either. I posted about 7 verses about killing babies. You're focused on one, and that also supports killing babies. So again, you're minimalizing. Furthermore, you already conceded. That's what I don't get. You had to already concede that that's not what it says. But because now somebody's holding you accountable to say that you're misleading people, now I have to do the shrim to try to make it look like no, 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 I'm not misleading people. You're not clear. I'm like, oh, okay. So, lastly, my response is, y'all. I'm not sure where this is going. I don't know where this is going because I don't know who the y'all is. I don't know who the y'all is. So I'm not about to argue a point that I didn't make. Like I said, I'm not new to the YouTube streets or even in this discussion. I'm not about to argue a point I didn't make. You feel me? If y'all see abortion as wait. So I said, as I didn't state my personal opinion, nowhere here did I state my personal opinion. It's clear you already conceded that you misspoke, and now we're playing this game again. We do this type of things, especially when we feel like we have the backing of the people, especially when we feel like numbers is on our side. We can say anything we want to say. This is sometimes people assume they can say anything they want to say, but because the numbers are emotionally already invested in the conversation, that people can say whatever they want to say, and as long as the numbers are supporting, then it's going to be all good. Nonetheless, I already spoke to the original post and the need for context. Anywho, hopefully the discussion bears good fruit. This is me saying peace out, fam. Because clearly this conversation is about to start doing laps around the track. You know what I mean? And I gotta get it's about to start doing laps. Let's continue. So after I pieced out the conversation, this is the first time I'm reading this part right here because I pieced it out. So we're gonna read this together and see if it elevates in any way or if it just continues if it continues in the way that it was started off. So let me see here. Um, uh, so it's okay to abort. So now this the conversation is changing. It goes from the Bible is supporting abortion to asking the person their thought. Again, that wasn't what the premise was. If your premise is the Bible supports abortion and you give me text, then that text needs to say what you're saying it's saying. Okay. Somebody here says, Amuna, no, the discussion you created was a waste of time. If we go back to the top of the discussion, I didn't even create it. I'm speaking under someone else's thread, supporting what Empress Tina said. Again, we can't stay on track. Hosting all these years shows me that for some reason we cannot stay on track. I don't know what it is. Even as we can't even remember the cause of event. Empress Tina made a statement. I'm under Empress Tina's thread. Therefore, I did not create a discussion. But again, what does that matter? What does the truth matter when it starts falling in the street? Um, so Earth, she's responding and says that's what they're actually saying. They're saying context, but they really mean the chapter will explain why the order to kill newborns were made. No, that's not what they're saying. They're saying that what I'm saying, because I said context, is that the scriptures you brought up is not about abortion. That's what I'm saying. You're saying it supports all kinds of abortion. Those scriptures are not about abortion. Point blank. Period. Go find some scriptures that support what you are trying to support. So later on, she says, "Yeah, it's the point that they're missing." So it's always someone else missing a point. Not that, hey, I misspoke. These do not support abortion. These support infanticide. All right. This is an abortion conversation. Roe versus Wade is an abortion conversation. That's not an infanticide conversation. That's a different conversation. No, I'm not condoning any of that. However, if we're going to come and engage thousands of people, at least let's be honest a little bit. I believe it's on purpose, or maybe they just don't have never mind. So instead of saying, you know what, I misrepresented this discussion, I'm going to put the blame and the onus on the people who are asking for context. And basically, essentially, they're not on the level, so just never mind. Let them stay over there. Okay. What are your thoughts? I'm gonna come look at this, and then I'm gonna come look at some more of the conversations that the people are having under this here thread because I didn't get to look at it. Let me see what y'all got going on here. Let me see what y'all got going on here. I'm gonna have to go all the way back up to the top. I hope we stay on point too. I hope we stay on point. All right. Okay. Yeah. Pilates. Pilates. Okay. Nasha. No, we're not. Let's see. Prime example of the Bible being a babyish things in the hands of the wicked and the unlearned. I don't know which is she, wicked or unlearned, but boy, she definitely is one of the two. Interesting. Definitely evading. Yeah, it's deflection. It's definitely it's, okay. My niece sent me a video of a woman passionately trying to say a fetus was not life. I asked her, "Did you even read the bill? Don't send me any more erroneous videos." uh, this is interesting. Naasha says, "I believe it is the woman's decision what she does with her womb. Uh, uh, Nobody owns another woman's womb." Is this on point? Is this on topic? Nasha, if you rent an apartment that is owned by a landlord and you're in the apartment and suddenly the landlord comes and violently expels you from the premises with no prior warning, you had a contract with this landlord, you have a lease with this landlord, and for no other reason than it's his house and he feels like it, or she, the landlord enters your dwelling, busts the lock off your door, and he holds all of your belongings, including you, in pieces outside of the premises. You break arm, feet, not you personally, somebody, because I don't want to put that on nobody. Okay. The person is injured because of the actions of the landlord. Is the landlord justified because the apartment was part of their dwelling, their that they quote unquote owned? I'll just put that out there. Is the landlord justified in breaking the lock, expelling you and your contents from the apartment, injuring you to where you can no longer be operable, or the person, because he owns, even though you were under contract because he owns it? I'll just put that out there while I continue. She proved that she knows the word abort means. A lot of them try to play games. By taxi. Hold on. Mm. I don't know how we got here, Judah. I don't know how we got here either. Okay. So Unveil said, I'm side eyeing you for even starting a ripple under her. Just why? It seems you got a little sidetracked. Who, me? Sometimes, yeah, I'll take the side eye. Sometimes, sometimes I feel compelled, and sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? But this particular conversation, there's a lot of people that's lost in today's space and time. There's a lot of people who are looking for direction, and there's something for me personally about when people are intentionally mislead people that I don't necessarily feel like just to walk away when somebody's intentionally misleading somebody. So yeah, I engaged, and hopefully it helps somebody somewhere. What do you mean five? Requote that, Nasha. I'm not sure. That was a while ago. I don't remember what part of the conversation was that. The powers that are going, yeah, they're going to start up the Song Particle Collider. Yep, they're seeking to try to recreate the God particle. Check that out. Yep, it's all over it's all over. It's about to be July the 5th. So y'all look out for that. They playing with frequencies in the earth, and we over here, people over here playing with the minds of people to lead them into some deep darkness. You feel me? Which is how do you stand aside and just say nothing? Uh yeah, respectful communication is important. I agree. Uh, hey, what's going on, True Diamond? What's going on, India? Yeah, it's gaslighting. Nasha says you would already given up. You know, when I look at my children, when I look at my nieces and nephews, all last week I was teaching children about cooking. When you look at the next generation and realizing that whatever we do or don't do is going to adversely or positively affect them, then you can't give up, because that is what it says, every tree bearing fruit. Whatever, when you look forward and realize that this is not just about you, and you work through your own healing, and you work through all the things you need to do in your life, and you realize that if I could pay it forward, if I can help somebody somewhere, then plant the seed. You say if you plant a seed. I was teaching the children, one of the children, we one of the groups we were making mango salsa. And so essentially, I teach them a little bit about the items that we're going to use, the food, and then we make the product. So I was telling them about the mango tree, and how, and an interesting fact about the mango tree, of how long it can bear after you've planted the seed. One seed. We are the people who have the seed, the ability to plant these seeds in our hand. And one mango seed, after being planted, can yield fruit for up to 300 years, according to reports. One mango tree. So when we look at the effects that we can have on our surroundings and the people around us, how can we not? Maybe we won't live. It takes 4 to 6 years for this mango tree to bear fruit. How can we not say, you know what? Plant this mango tree, plant this seed so that someone else may eat, somebody else may get the benefit. We never know. So that's why I do what I do. I've been doing it for years. Sometimes you get tired, but you don't quit, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't know who is out there who may be looking, just looking for a direction that they can go in so that they can get on the good foot. There's a lot of people out here in depression. These type of conversations, these type of energies, they don't leave you with any light at the end of the tunnel. You don't know who you may be pushing off the edge. Our words have power. You understand what I'm saying? And if we don't begin to realize the written word, the spoken word, the things we think, they all have power. They all create our reality. And if we continue to tear down our brothers and sisters, tear down each other, tear down other people, what type of world will we be living in? What type of world will we be living in? Um, I'm just coming in. We're having an abortion. Yeah, we're having both. We're having both. We're going over some stuff that was said on a post, India, and so we're just looking at it. I engaged a bit, and then we're going to look at what some other people were saying in regard to some Bible scriptures that was said to support abortion, but in reality, it wasn't supporting quote textbook abortion. Uh, Good landlord analogy, because I have watched a fetus fight for their life while being expelled. Exactly, positive reinforcement. When we look at it, we keep saying it's our body. No, because if it was your body, then when you sucked out the fetus limb by limb, then you would not be viable either. This is someone else's body. You're the landlord, and this soul has a contract with you. We may not believe in the spiritual, the aspect of it, but this soul contracted with you to have an ability to come through you as the vessel. We don't want to take it there. Why we don't want to take it there? Because it's too much like, oh my goodness, what are you talking about? These souls have contracts, soul contracts, and you are the mother, and this is the father, and this is how this soul is entering into the earth. You're the only doorway for this soul to come into the earth. And after, it's interesting, I just saw a news report out of Texas. A couple with two sons started building their house in 2020, and they contracted with these builders in Texas to build their dream home. They sold, and part of the contract was that they needed to sell their pre-existing home so that they can engage in this contract and qualify to get this new dream build home. They did that. They had to move out their home after they sold it, and they went into an Airbnb, thinking that they would be moving into their house in 1 month. The builder of the house spontaneously voided their contract. This is how they ended up on the news, okay? And says that it is no longer convenient for them to engage in this after they already agreed, after the people kept their side of the bargain, all of that. It was a melanated couple. And ultimately now these melanated couple, they didn't have no more dream home. What they invested into that dream home, now they're in an apartment because the builder pulled out and then sold their home because of the way that the housing market went, sold their home for more. So because it wasn't convenient for someone, they decide to breach the contract, is my point. And when it is done to us, we say, oh, that's unfair, that is unjust. But when we're the ones who are doing it, we are justified. That's unjust weights and balances. But I'll continue. Judah says the whole shebang had twists, more yeah, 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 yeah. Yo, shout out to everybody who's just joined us. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the conversation. Dang, I feel convicted by your plant the seed so someone else can eat comment. I got tired and frustrated, just stopped talking, and I have many things that carry weight. Yeah, I mean, shout out to everybody who's giving positive words of things. It helps me keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do get tired. Sometimes we do get tired. And we can support things whatever we feel, because we have, oftentimes we support things that gel with us, but we sometimes we there's a doctor, her video is going around. She performed, according to her, over 500 abortions. She was pro-life. Yeah. But then when she really realized, because some people say it's my job, this is what I'm supposed to do, da da da, whatever, whatever, whatever. But when she realized the real life implications of the things that she put her hand to, right, she had to change her position. Somebody came on the channel and dropped me some real solid information. They said that the person that they used, just like they used Rosa Parks, and Rosa Parks wasn't the first who didn't want to get out her seat, but she was the poster child that the civil rights movement used to push forward the agenda. So was the woman in the Roe versus Wade situation. She was the catalyst that these two young lawyers used to push forward this abortion agenda. And somebody, I forgot the name of the person who came through, shout out to you on the channel and dropped that information, because I went back and looked at it, and rightfully so, they told the woman to lie. They told the woman to say that she got violated. It's funny enough, but not funny, ironic, I would say, that the woman from this Roe versus Wade conversation didn't even have an abortion. She had the child. So again, we have to beware of people who are using poster childs as a way in which to advance their agenda. You understand? I did a video on the name of the first girl, and the reason why they didn't use the girl from the civil rights movement, what's her name? The reason they didn't use her because she was pregnant, and so they decided to use Rosa Parks. Who first did not? I'm gonna tell you her name. I did a video on her a long time ago. She was a young teenage mother who was pregnant. Yes, Claudette Cloven. That's her name. Claudette Cloven. She was the one who really kicked off the civil rights, but they was like, nah, she don't fit the bill. Let's go ahead and get somebody else real quick. And then they got Rosa Parks. Okay. True Diamond, since money has gotten involved in these YouTube streets, just about everyone paint these people to try to make it disingenuous. Yeah, I said that earlier, True Diamond. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, her name is Claudette Cloven. Her name is Claudette Cloven. No, you cannot. Legally, Nasha, a landlord. I just did a quick little meme or whatever on legally, a contract is binding in the sense of the landlord cannot just up and break the contract legally. They can do it illegally. If you look at, and I don't want to get too graphic, right? But if you look at what has to happen for somebody to not give the person a pill to cause a miscarriage, but to forcibly cause an abortion, you have to pry open the cervix. When someone is pregnant, okay, that cervix is closed and a mucus plug forms over the cervix so that nothing can contaminate the womb from the outside and that the contents of the womb can stay inside. Okay? When we're talking about what we're talking about, we're also being disingenuous about the process. If you have to go through all of those steps That means that we're doing something off. Okay? We're doing something off. No matter how we feel about it, it is what it is. Like it is what it is to use the thing. We're doing something off. When you have to pry open the cervix to then rupture with a sharp tool to rupture um the the placenta. My apologies. To rupture the placenta, okay? Then after you rupture the placenta, that means you disrupted the environment that the child is in. And then you proceed to use a tool to break apart. None of this is natural. I don't know what we're talking about, but we need to stop playing games. Because all of this is going to have to come in account. I don't mean to go up on my soapbox today, but when we play games, then I'm like, come on, man. Then you begin to dismember piece by piece something that was whole, and you begin to dismember that being, an arm at a time, a leg at a time, right? And then you have to count all of the pieces that you just dismembered to make sure that nothing about that is natural. Nothing about that is miscarriagey. When you have a miscarriage, you're not pushing out pieces. The miscarriage is nature's way. If you didn't induce the miscarriage, miscarriage is nature's way of expelling something that made a child that was something interrupted that process. It wasn't viable. Something happened in the growth process. I myself had a miscarriage, and it wasn't a small child. And in that time, I studied all about miscarriages in nature. I studied all about animal kingdom. Y'all see how I study. Anything I'm going through, how I get through is getting more information. Okay. I studied about the trees miscarrying or casting their fruit. I studied about the elephant. I studied about everything as it related to miscarriage. Miscarriage is something different than an abortion. Okay. It is not the same thing. My point being, we can be in agreement with whatever we feel the need to be in agreement, but to be deluded about what's actually happening or what somebody's actually doing is something totally different. India says, I actually wanted to speak to Sin on Themis' channel. One time I called into that channel too, and it was like, about her stance to prove she is just anti man, but I had to go. Her stance is disingenuous on this matter. Her misuse of the Bible further proves that. Exactly. I went over to the Themis channel early on when he started, and initially, what I gravitated towards was his willingness to have this open conversation and hear all points. But as it continued, I'm like, yeah, this is going left. This is going left. This is going left. Yeah, they start doing all manner of things. We start doing. Nasha said, "I'm not playing game. We need to respect each other." Uh, that's interesting. That's interesting, Nasha. I already said that, but if I do not have the right to judge another spirit. Yeah, we kind of do. We kind of do. We kind of do. We judge every day. We judge every day. I don't know why we keep saying we don't judge. We judge every day. Every day. We judge, do we want to go to that restaurant? Do we want to sit in that car seat? Can I be heard? Hopefully. Can I be heard? 1 2 1 2.
Can I be heard? Let me know if I can be heard. I plugged out the headphones. So sorry about that. I got the headphones. Maybe I'm moving around too much. Let me know if I can be heard now. Loud and clear. All right, let's continue for the sake of time about this gaslighting conversation and to see if it even takes a better turn. All day long, we make judgment calls. All day long, we make judgment calls. I agree, positive reinforcement. We make judgment calls all day long. Okay. Driving on the road is all about judging other people. It's about judging if we have enough time, if we should go a little faster, if we should go over. We're looking at other people and the way they're driving, and we have to make judgments about how we're going to drive based on the way they're driving. All day long, we're making judgment. We have to. So let's continue here. Cass says, for those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. We're going over a post that was made, a community post on YouTube. And by the way, sometimes people are like, why are we talking about this? It was made on a community post. You know, people say comment below. So this is what people are doing and engaging in discussion. This is how we move things forward, right? So the initial comment was, now I know a lot of Christians will hate me for this, but it looks like your religion not only supports selective breeding, it also supports all types of abortion. We already spoke to that. The scriptures that were put out does not support what she's saying it supports. And so we're going through what are some of the pushbacks or agreements that the people have. I already went through my conversation because I did chime in, but then I went about my business. And then let's see what other people are saying. Because sometimes we think that we're the lone voice in the wilderness, but you do have other people who are out there making sense. And, you know, we need to give credit where credit is due. So Cass says, this is a conversation that has to be had. The blind obedience legitimately opens up how easily it is for people to follow status quos. Why question if you've been conditioned to never question? Anytime you ask a Christian anything, the answer is vague. You are disrespecting their religion and do not have the secret comprehension skills they do to understand the Bible. I didn't see that, but maybe they're seeing that. Maybe she's drawing from other experiences. That's what it seems like. It does not matter the context. Say that when somebody misquotes you. Say that the next time you do a video and somebody runs with one thing you say. How does it not matter the context? If at the end of the day, a woman cannot get an abortion based on religion, yet the same book, for any reason and for any people, calls forth murder, rape, and rape. All right, what? Infants from wombs. Then it is what it is. The story does not matter if death of women or children is the end result. Let's talk about it. So again, this is again moving the goalpost. We've been having this conversation. We're not talking about the appeal to what is moral, just so that the waters doesn't muddy. No one is addressing what she actually said. Everyone seems to be who is condoning what she said. After you just said that you're not coming for the so-called Christian, you proceed to come for their understanding, but not address what was being said. Why am I going into this? Because even here and other places, people just go on the track with the discussion and go and circle the discussion and never go anywhere because we're not being honest about the statement that we made. If we misquote a statement, or if we assert something, this is how people get off on technicalities. It's not because the person is not guilty. It's because the argument, when you are a lawyer or when you're in this space of making arguments and defending arguments, if you miscolor or you misclassify or you come at the wrong angle, the person could get off on a technicality. Why? Because you didn't understand how to engage in this discussion to get your desired result, right? It's a whole science to how you bring arguments, and this argument is not doing what it's supposed to do. Anyway, they can't even read the caption right. So now you're indicting the people, let alone discuss it. I said the religion, and they're telling me about God. LOL. So now up here it says, now I know a lot of Christians will hate me for this, but it's looking like your religion. And then you posted scriptures. So they have to talk about the Bible, because the scriptures are talking about the Bible. So how are you saying that they can't read right when they're referencing what you referenced? No? Huh? So now they proceed to say, once you do the ad hominem attacks, this is the direction we've gone into, where you're going to attack the person and not the argument, right? When you begin to attack the person, then people get triggered and become emotional. And now this conversation is going nowhere and fast. And that's where we usually end up anywhere we go in some of these YouTube streets or even social media. The conversation quickly goes left because we don't have a base level of respect. This is why I say over here, we talking to people you don't agree, you don't have to come for them, start calling them all kind of names and doing all of that stuff. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of the people we don't know. You may not agree with what they say, and we maybe tend to be like, yo, that person is blah, blah, blah. But when we're having this type of public discussion, it may be helpful to grow our emotional intelligence to the point where we can have this discussion. You know who sometimes I like watching the old videos of Malcolm X. Look at them debates, them old videos of Malcolm X when he's in these lion dens, when these people are being facetious, they coming at his head. And look at how he's engaging with them in a way where even though they hate what it is that he's saying, they want to still keep talking. We've lost that art to a certain degree. Um, yeah, we've degenerated intellectually to a certain degree. Uh, So somebody named D Nice says, if you read every chapter that you posted, not one scripture is telling women to kill or abort their children. Right. This is someone else doing it. This is someone else doing it. This is not the woman herself doing it. Does it make it right or wrong? No, it doesn't. But this, again, the person brings up an interesting point. These scriptures are not telling the woman herself to do it. It goes on to say you have to understand why these scriptures are saying what they're saying and why. But before it says wisdom is principle, therefore get wisdom, and with all you're getting, get understanding. I don't even think we can get to understanding until we understand the what, which is hakma. What is happening? And that's what context is about. Who is speaking? Why? Not even why are they speaking? Who or what is speaking? What is happening in this place? So things contextually get put out. This is why when people come into the room, they be like, yo, I just came in. What is happening? What's going on? Now imagine somebody just pops into this conversation. James Baldwin as well. Yeah, when you look at some of those discussions that he has, even though he's going at the jugular. Okay. He's coming for the people. He's speaking truth to power. Even in some of those discussions, he cool as a cucumber. He's smoking his little cigarette. I don't know why they were smoking their little cigarette. They in there smoking their little cigarette and they're having this discussion, and you can't help but to be present because it's so engaging in the way in which they're bringing up these points, and they are Maya and all of these people from that specifically, they were articulate, and it wasn't only that they were articulate, they were able to say what they needed to say in a way that preserved the integrity of the discussion, that we can watch it so many decades later and be like, oh, they made a good point right there. I appreciate that type of stuff, right? So when I see conversations quickly degenerate, I'll be like, nah, bro, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. India says a lot of what people are fighting for as abortion rights go against the definition of abortion. If the fetus is viable, it's not an abortion. uh this is what I'm saying. The definition of the word is important, and instead of playing three card Monty out here, instead of playing games to try to say that, oh, you should agree because your Bible agrees, again, that's disingenuous. People don't know what a debate is. Yeah, we've lost it. Even if you disagree with a stance, if the counter argument was better, the opposition wins. It's the foundation of our trial system. The YouTube streets are crowded. These YouTube streets, boy, I don't know. And they're having real time effects. It's not even like it's just staying on social media. I saw something that happened that saddened me yesterday. There is a there is a a crime investigation in Islip, Michigan, that this man, he was a Facebook comedian, I suppose. I don't know how many people saw the report. Maybe we could talk about it. He is a Facebook comedian. He was known in his town. He talked about events. I guess, I don't know. I've never seen him. But I guess someone didn't like the way he spoke about them or their situation. I guess he physically knew them. And this person, while the man was on Facebook Live one morning, bright and early, 11 o'clock, he's on Facebook Live having a conversation outside in his driveway. And somebody comes and types on it that they don't like what he's saying and that they have 30 rounds, and he's not really taking it seriously. And he's like, the person pulls up and he goes, says on Facebook Live, we have action, and gets up and walks towards the person, and the person let off 30 rounds on him and took him out right there on Facebook Live. So when people think that this is just happening on the internet, there is a bleed over from the internet into real life, and people are not able to have discussion without taking it to some people, without taking it to levels that it need not go. It need not go. True Diamond says you're right. I don't think we have the ability to debate. They just listen to all their thoughts and think they're right, but end up sounding silly and can't call the truth. And we call it truth nowadays. Yeah. Yeah, we do. Judah says she just watched it on the news. It's in the news cycle right now. And they had to alert Facebook, and Facebook had to pull it down, but they already have the video. Man let off 30 rounds just like that. As a matter of fact, let me my point, I ain't even gonna pull it up right now because that's left. But my point being, because we've lost this ability to disagree, but bring your points. Bring your points. What are your points? Not only do you have to bring your points, you have to substantiate your points. Bring your information and let the people, let the jury, let the people who are listening be their own judge, right? We don't need to necessarily gaslight uh, the public. For what? Anywho, I'm not going to go through all of this because I think the point is made. Um, Hold on. Someone says, Shavella says, I've said it several times on the thread. The Bible is not one book. It's Biblios, which is like a library. It's a collection of books. Of rules to blindly follow. The Bible is multiple books compiled into one. The various books contain history, poetry, wisdom, civil law, ceremonial law, family lineage, war, health, sex, science, spirituality, scandals, biographies, prophecy, and moral guidelines. The Bible is ancient Black culture. That was well said. That was well said. That this is because oftentimes church, and is an indictment to the church to a certain degree, did not do the best times at certain times of really giving people the understanding of what the Bible is. That a lot of people are misguided and jaded about the experience based on who taught them what the Bible was. If it was looked at as all of these different things, then saying men wrote the Bible wouldn't be like, oh my goodness, because you would understand the Song of Solomon is poetry. Wisdom, Solomon told you he wrote that. Right? You see what I'm saying? The judges, you have scribes who are writing these things. So we're not really saying anything. What are we really saying? But if the church says that all of this is the creator writing this, then when somebody says, oh, some men wrote it, you're like, ooh, oh no, let me run away now. You see what I'm saying? It's all about how we're introduced to the text. But we go on. We're going on. And because we have deviated so far from anything that's going to keep us in alignment with the with universal laws, every man just leans on their own understanding, right? That's what's happening right now. And it's people are just drifting off into the depths of the sea because there's so much knowledge and information out there that people don't know which way to go. uh and people have gone off the topic of abortion into the Bible, and just like that. And yeah, I'm gonna just end that right there. I'm gonna end it right there because it's just a perfect illustration of Why we need to take time to comb certain things out. We need to take time to comb certain things out because we're going to be responsible for everything we say and everything we do. We're gonna play like we not responsible because we don't want to think about it or we nah. Anyway, let me release the screen. Anybody have anything to say? Feel free to share. Let me drop this link right here in the box. Hold on. Man writes your school books. Man wrote America. I mean, it's human beings. Like people write wisdom. People write foolishness. People are inspired to. People write songs that you sing all day, but you running around say, "I'm not gonna sing that song because men wrote it." You know what I mean? Where are we going with this? You know what I mean? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. So I'm looking at some of these fallacies because there are a lot of them. Appeal to tradition, a conclusion supported solely because it has been held to be true a long time. That's one of the things that, especially a lot of people culturally, we like, oh, it's been done like this a long time. My granny do it, my granny do it, my mama do it, so I'm gonna do it, right? So somebody could have done it wrong 100 years ago, and all you're doing is repeating the wrong thing and so we do that oftentimes, and this is what it lends to the generational curses that people speak about, especially if somebody was violated on the negative, right? And the mother was, I think Iyanla Van Zant had one of these episodes where it happened to everyone in their family, right? And so because it happened, it became normalized. Like, oh, that's all that happened to you. That happened to me. That happened to the mother. That happened to somebody. And that's the appeal to tradition, this logical fallacy that because it's been happening, it's not as bad as you're making it out to be. And I think that is one of those that, like I said, contributes to these generational curses because we normalize the thing as opposed to being honest to say, you know what, this happened to me. It was wrong when it happened to me, and it's wrong that it happened to you. But some mothers that I've seen, because they didn't get justice and because no one spoke up for them, or because, and I'm kind of, going into this logical fallacy conversation real quick, just waiting to see if anybody wants to chime into the conversation we already had. You know, because the mother didn't necessarily get justice, then she doesn't feel like she's empowered enough to fight for someone else, which is her child, because no one fought for her. So when we're talking about breaking generational curses, it's about being honest about what has happened, right? And being able to have the discussion about what has happened and allowing for the process of, for lack of better term, because it's become so cliche, but for allowing the process of healing to begin, in even giving the mother or the father, whomever, the opportunity to grieve. Sometimes when something happens to us traumatically, we don't grieve, especially if you're in a situation where the people around you cause for you to become hardened. It's not that big of a deal. It happened to me. I still move on. Get up and do what you have to do. So because you're hardened or forced to be hardened, whether it be the young man because he didn't have his father, the young girl because she didn't have her father, the young girl because she was violated, the young boy, whatever it is, right? The parents, however they handle, and in many cases mishandle the situation, it teaches the injured, the party who never got their day in court, so to say, to cope with it, right? And so because you never grieve, then that pain, that experience is trapped within. This is why we can be 30, 40, 50 years later from the time that the incident happened, right? And still carry it. It's because that memory is trapped within us now. We weren't allowed to cry. We weren't allowed to talk about it. Something happened and you hear, never talk about this again. What happens when you never talk about this again? What happens? Because if words sound power, if words can birth emotions, right? This is why when if you're an artist, or if you're a songwriter, if you're a poet, or if you're an author, when something is bubbling inside of you, you birth it through what? Word. Through, if you're a dancer, you birth it through movement. Okay. So when somebody comes along and say, never talk about this again, in a hushed tone, and wants you to pretend as if nothing ever happened, and pretend that life is usual, you're going to go to church next Sunday, and it was the pastor who did it. Like, I see this pastor, 50 or 60 something year old pastor, floating around with an 18-year-old who he grew up in the church, according to what they're saying, and he's threatening the other people to leave her alone. To some degree, you had to be grooming this little girl, that the moment she turns 18, you out here hollering, she grown. But that's, I don't, I digress. So your parent is vested in the or your guardian or your caretaker is for whatever reason not compelled to defend you, and you're told to hold this L. I know, and not acknowledged. What happens? Some way, somehow, that wrong, that trauma is going to find a place to home, to find a nest, a place where it's going to be housed. It's either going to be housed in your anger, it's going to be housed in your sadness, it's going to be housed in your depression, it's going to be housed in your relationships. That trauma, that experience of being robbed of something, some part of you, the physical part may fade if it's molestation, if it's violation, if whatever, that physical part may fade, but the trauma that entered the body is stuck in there. What's going on, truthful? It's stuck in there. You feel me? So when we talk about logical fallacies, the reason why some of these traditions are passed down generationally, because they appeal to tradition, a conclusion supported solely because it has been held to be true for a long time. Men are always, all the men in such and such family does that. That's a tradition that's held to be true. And oftentimes the parent does, or the guardian does, or the elder doesn't. The people who know don't hip the child. The people who knows just kind of put the responsibility on the child. Don't go over there. And so the child doesn't understand why you're behaving that way. You understand, but because you're not able to communicate the dangers oftentimes of what this child may be in, you transfer wholesale. And I've heard women say this, that now you're fast at 9, or you're a hussy, or the parent now begins to condemn the child for being attractive, because then your attractiveness is what's causing you to be abused. One of the places that this has come from, we read it in the book, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. And if you guys didn't go over that, that one is also on the channel. And a part in the book, Harriet Jacobs is her name. She speaks to the curse of coming of age during slavery in the house of the master, because now that the young girl is going through this process, she becomes a target, right? And so it's, especially if she has something desirable. So now the blame is not on the evildoer or the wrongdoer. It's the blame becomes on the victim, who does not have the wherewithal to navigate these very murky waters. But it's easier to blame the victim than it is to blame the perp. And we still do it in today's society. And people reason, who have been victims, they victimize more victims, and they reason it's always been like this. Appeal to emotion, or as a tradition, and it's always going to be like this, because it's easier to control the victim or gaslight the victim than it is to get the immoral to behave morally. No. Let me see what's going on here. I didn't mean to go off the deep end. I'm back now. True Diamond says, sounds like my family. Sorry about that. My condolences to everybody whose family may be experiencing this, and you may be looking like, how do I get out of what this cycle, right? How do I get out? How do I break out and stay out? True Diamond says, my cousin died in 94. I didn't grieve his death until 2001. something happened and I realized I was holding my breath. Wow. I cried and realized, and I finally was able to heal and let go. Wow. So from 1994 to 2001, once that trauma entered the system, especially when we lose someone, the brain, anytime there's something too much for us to deal with, our brain insulates ourselves. It insulates itself. So if anything tragic have ever happened to you, you kind of go into this spacey cloud state. Like people are talking, you could hear them, but not really, right? Um, Especially if the thing is sudden, you can hear them, but not really. And everything, the brain is trying to protect itself. So some of the memories get filed away in different places, and we're just trying to move through the motions from day to day. And something like this can really happen. Like you didn't realize that, hey, I didn't process this. I didn't process this. And it can be triggered by anything down the road, right? Anything that comes along down the road. It could be years, it could be decades. And you're like, whoa, I didn't process this thing. And once you do, it may take you to a different place depending on what that injury is, right? True Diamond says, I don't think Black people from a dysfunctional family are not allowed to grieve. Like you said, you have to stay strong, right? And this is where you see now a lot of women like, yo, I'm putting down this strong Black woman narrative, because what does that mean? Stay strong. What is happening in your environment that you need to be He-Man? What is happening in your environment that you need to be She-Ra? What is really happening? What are you staying strong from? All of the things, all of the burdens, all of the pressures from life that's being placed on your shoulders. And you are said to, in the face of all of this stuff, stay strong. There is no safe place to grieve, because grieving requires vulnerability. Sorry. It requires a safe space to be able to do so. And if that's not provided, if you don't have the ability to come out of fight or flight mode, then the reality is you're going to be running with this the whole time until you run out of gas. And for some people, it looks very different. And this is why not allowing ourselves this space, or even when we're trying to be supportive for other people, sometimes the things we say, it has the opposite effect of what we want it to say, right? We say things also appeal to tradition. We say things that have always been said, but that may not be helpful, right? So even when we hear about someone grieving, what do we say if they've lost someone? Oh, he's in a better place now. Oh, thank God he's no longer suffering. We say things awkwardly that may not even be the right thing to say at that time. Sometimes we got to show up like Job's friends and just be there. Say nothing until the person is ready to speak, so that we know when we're speaking to something, it's not about what we want to say, it's about what they need at that time. There's a whole another conversation, but we'll continue. And then when I'm gonna wind down, where we at? 138. Yeah, it's deep subjects. Um, yeah, the, positive reinforcement said that there was an article that says that the angry Black woman is due to depression. You know, I did the research preliminarily, and I wrote the angry Black woman about 2015, and it's due to, from what I found, it is due to many things, depression being one of them, and essentially anger being another, right? Because it all depends on how she exhibits uh, what she's feeling, but it's definitely connected to a deeper emotion that oftentimes is overlooked, because the melanated woman's emotions has been weaponized against her, right? If you look at all other um you see, oh, the feisty Latina, it's put in a way that her anger is seen as cute, okay, seen as cute. The complacent or the complicit Becky, her emotions as seen as submissive. But because the melanated woman expresses her emotions in a way that oftentimes society doesn't know how to handle it, it's too strong, it's too forceful. Anger is as an emotion that is acceptable for men. Sadness is an emotion that is acceptable for women. I'm talking about socially. So when you see a man sad, you hear, why you acting like a girl? Why you acting like a punk? Why you crying? Why? Because sadness is something that's dealing with internal issues, And women are seen, or femininity is seen as something that happens internally, right? And so because it's something that's seen that's happening internally, then she expresses her discontent as sadness. It's passive. Sadness is passive, but anger is aggressive. Anger is outwardly. Anger is fire related. Sadness is water related. I went through all of this, by the way. If you're asking, where's the moon getting this from? That's at the Solonomics course that's been there for umpteen years as well. Okay. If we look at sad and blue, right? We're thinking about water. If you think about anger, we're thinking about fire. Fire is looked at as masculine. And I'm not saying right, wrong, and indifferent. I'm just saying how society views it. So therefore, the angry Black woman is looked at as masculine because anger is supposedly a masculine emotion and acceptable for men to express and not acceptable for women to express. Okay? Well, let's proceed. Let's proceed. And shout out to everybody with all of these positive support of one another as we move through this very treacherous waters, oftentimes, of, generational trauma, healing, hurt. May we all find healing on our journey. And True Diamond says, again, had another experience in 97. It wasn't until 2015, 18 years, that I realized I'd been traumatized. I was holding onto something that needed to be released. When I let it go, it was very liberating. And that's what we don't realize. I saw now I should speak about it earlier. When we sit with our own trauma, I think what we can use these conversations for is, even the ones that are left, is to see what triggers you. And if it triggers you, then that may be where your injury is. And that's an indication of, it's like the doctor with the little hippie thing on your leg. Does this hurt? Tell me when it hurts. When you see where you're triggered, because some of the trauma, oftentimes we forgot. Because like I said, when the brain misfiles it, or it files it in another way, that we oftentimes don't associate or disassociate what we're experiencing from what actually happened. When it's brought up again, it's given us an opportunity to move through it. And when we move through it, when we express it, when we flush it out of our system, it's not that it won't have residuals, it's that initial heavy weight will be lifted. Mm. All right. So with that said, my daughter has dysfunctional family whom she hasn't seen in years. They posted on Facebook how they couldn't wait until they turn 18 to contact her. They are determined to keep their trauma going. Ain't no way. But also what's interested in that too, True Diamond, is, I know it's weird. It's gonna sound weird, but this is my experience. If we try, when we try to separate our children or ourselves from the dysfunction, just because we're not in physical contact with the people does not mean that dysfunction doesn't affect in some way, right? So therefore, what I'm saying is that an awareness of the dysfunction is necessary for our children, because inadvertently, if this trauma, if this energy is within the cloud that I like to speak about, our children unknowingly will attract to the very situation that we try to keep them from. And then the cycle continues. And we're like, how did this happen? Because even though we were trying to separate ourselves, which is necessary at some point in time, if they don't understand it and move through it from themselves, when we pass them the baton, they oftentimes can run right into the same problem on the other side. And we'll be beating ourselves up like, how did this happen? How did this happen? Because whatever energy was created by those that are within our soul family, we don't necessarily escape it until we make other choices and break the cycle. It's not the easiest thing to do, but that's also something to keep mindful of. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. It's just something to be aware of. Thank you everybody for sharing. We at the 145 mark. For those who just joined us, like, subscribe, and share this live stream. We still haven't gotten to our 7,000, but we on our way. We on our way. We on our way. We on our way. So go ahead and click the like, subscribe, and share notification button. I don't have a set schedule as it is, because you be like, dang, I'm winning. Sometimes you be going live, this, that. I don't have a set schedule right now, but definitely like, subscribe, and share, and hit the notification so you know when we go live. If anybody has anything else to say, feel free to do so. So to recap, there's a lot of discussion. We can't stop anybody from talking. I talk, they talk, people talk. Um, but when we're having these discussions, just understand that there are a lot of things at play, and if we can plant that tree, if we can share a thought, if we can shine light, we don't have to jump on our soapboxes, but if we could shine a light in dark places, why not do that? You know what I mean? Even just passing by, you could ask a stranger something, they can point you in the right direction, and then you just keep it moving. You know what I mean? You don't have to come and like, yeah, you gotta come with me. Not necessarily. India says if I could subscribe twice, I would. That's what's up. Shout out to you. Everybody have a great and productive day. I'm about to go do what it is that I do. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk again. Let me run a commercial. Hold on, family. Hold on. I'm slipping. This episode is sponsored by Yummy Curry Powder. Go on over to www.theyummycottage.com for your powder today.
I've been watching you, watching me, and I know you want to like, subscribe, and comment.
Now I'm playing, but for real, like, subscribe, and comment. Join the conversation.